A great pleasure it is to welcome to What's Next the CEO of Oneplan. Good morning to you, Michael Otten. How are you doing?
Morning, Aki. I'm good, thank you. And yourself? Thanks for having me.
That's a great pleasure to have you. Listen, tell us a little bit about Oneplan before we get started. What is Oneplan?
So, I mean, it's been quite a journey, but effectively, Oneplan is a short-term insurance underwriting manager who manage and administrate short-term products such as health insurance, pet insurance, gap insurance, and motor insurance into the South African market. Really a business founded on creating value for clients and solving some real problems for the market.
Okay, so it's quite interesting. So you do everything in Oneplan, which is the name, which I love, and it makes sense because one of the frustrations I have is that I've got short-term insurance with one person, I've got vehicle insurance with another person, and my pets are insured with another insurer. And I would love to make my life easier and just do it with one plan. That's why your name comes up, which is a great name. Now, you first took on the role of CEO at Oneplan Insurance in 2010. So it's been now 15 years. And I'm sure you've seen quite a few changes over the time. I mean, AI, I'm sure, has influenced, and big data and how you use the data. How has the insurance industry evolved over the past 15 years?
Yeah, I think, Aki, I mean, it's scary to think back that it's 15 years ago. And we started the business from nothing. And I think, at that stage, the insurance industry was quite set in its ways. It operated in a very traditional sort of manner, very broker-based, reliance on brokers to distribute products, etc. And at that time, it was sort of the early adoption of digital types of engagement with clients. So it was really early in terms of even your sort of Google search engines and people looking for comparative quotes and insurance in the digital space, and starting to utilize digital search and social media to identify the products that existed in the market. So over that sort of time, I think the digitization of insurance has been widely adopted by all sorts of players. We were, as I said, sort of an early adopter in that space, and I think managed to get ahead a little bit from that perspective. But really, I think what you've seen is a proliferation of a lot more businesses engaging directly with clients, through digital channels, be there apps in the smartphone, be there WhatsApp communications. I mean, at that stage it was email, etc. And there were times and instances where we still had to receive a fax from clients. So I think it's come a long way from where it was. And really, there's been a lot of digital adoption over that sort of time. I think we are seeing at the moment, a lot of players utilizing AI. And while AI is quite advanced in many respects, I don't think it's been perfected for the South African market. I think we deal with a very unique consumer, a variety of different languages, a variety of different sort of life stages, economic situations. So yeah, I mean, an interesting environment that we operate in. And I think, the digitization, the AI, etc., is going to play a big role in the market as we go forward, really to manage the complexities of the South African market.
No, it's a good analysis, and I guess what I'm hearing from you as well is that the basics of insurance and underwriting that stayed the same. It's how you deliver that service to customers and how you use the AI effectively to improve the automation and make the business run smoother.
Yep.
And clearly, you're a differentiator in the market. So, if I had to ask you, how does Oneplan differentiate itself in a South African insurance industry where there are many different players? What would you say to me is your differentiator?
Yeah, I think to be honest, I alluded to the uniqueness of the South African consumer, and I think a lot of our innovation is created and led by meeting that consumer's demand. So in the very early days, we had a product that was structured quite traditionally, and we found various complexities and stumbling blocks for a client to actually utilize the cover that they purchased from us. So it led us to develop various different tech solutions to really actually get the clients some value out of their insurance product. So, for example, in a lot of our products, we issue a card to client, which is a banking card that transacts anywhere, and we actually allow those clients to preload funds onto that card, and actually don't transact in the environment. So, in our health insurance space, for example, somebody needs to go and see a GP. They push a couple of buttons on their app. Within under a minute, those funds are made available to the client. They're free to go and transact anywhere that they wish to see any doctor that they wish to. The same applies to our pet insurance product, veterinary space. And I think, this innovation really, what it did is it said to the client, okay, well, now you've actually got the insurer available to you when you need it. Not on our terms, but on the client's terms. And again, the uniqueness of the South African environment, consumers are under a lot of financial pressure. And it's all well and good having an insurance product, but if I've got to go and pay for my service and then wait for a refund on that, it doesn't really work if you are financially stressed. So, that was the first sort of real innovation that set us apart from the market. But of course, cutting edge is bleeding edge. So it's taken a number of years for people to really adapt to how this works. And to the positive now, what you actually see is it coming up in conversation, people choosing our business because of that, over and above, or at the expense of the balance of the competitors, because they just don't have that offering to make available.
Yeah, so that makes a lot of sense. So you're taking the customer into account, you're making the customer's life a lot easier.
Absolutely.
You mentioned the different insurance products that you offer, and you've got quite a range there. We discussed earlier in the beginning as well, there's car insurance, you've got home insurance, there's gap cover, there's health insurance, as you just mentioned, even pet insurance.
Yeah.
Now, which insurance products are you seeing the biggest growth in currently, and why do you believe this is the case?
Sure. Absolutely. So, our business started with a health insurance offering, and I think we really identified the need for some alternative to what the traditional market put in place. I think the health insurance business has a lot of scope to grow. Again, I'm going to speak to sort of the wider economic pressures that the South African consumer faces. They're under increased pressure for that income to stretch, as far as it can. That coupled with the unfortunate state of our state-run hospitals, they really just aren't delivering the services that people require. So there's a lot of scope in the health space, and we're seeing some good solid growth in that space as clients become more educated about the products that are in existence and are on offer. That uptake is increasing quite rapidly. Pet's been a big focus of ours. I think we were quite an early entrant into the market. But seeing some really positive growth in the pet space. And recent data that's become available to us has shown that, despite the efforts of ourselves and various competitors in the market, we've still got a very small penetration into the actual pet ownership space. So some real growth there, genuine growth there. So those two are probably where we're seeing our biggest growth. Our gap offering is quite new. It's quite easy to grow big percentages when you're starting from zero. But we believe that offering in the future is going to be a big portion of our business.
Yeah. Now, listen, talking about health and gap cover, I've been caught a couple of times, and everybody says, and you need to have gap cover in when it comes to health insurance today. Now, you guys offer both health insurance and gap cover. What's your interpretation of the difference between medical aid, health insurance, and gap cover? And, I think they're all very different, and sometimes people confuse them all. Why would a South African pick each of these products?
Yeah, I think, really what we've aimed to do is cover the whole spectrum of a client's health requirements. The gap product, you choose that product. You mentioned you've been caught a couple of times by that gap. The gap product's purchased by clients who have a medical scheme. And I'm not going to get into sort of the regulatory differences between all of them and just try and give a sort of overview. But the gap product is designed to add on to your medical scheme policy. for the occurrence of co-payments that might arrive after a medical procedure. I think what we've seen over time is that gap getting a little bit bigger. And medical aid schemes, it's caught in a situation where they're trying to maintain a certain price point, and therefore are unable to meet the inflationary pressure coming out of a lot of our specialists in the country and a lot of our private medical care. That gap can be quite scary sometimes. Medical schemes often cover 100% of tariff or 200% of tariff. And in some instances, we've got specialists charging 500% of tariff, so 5 times in some instances what a medical scheme is going to cover. So that's kind of the interplay between gap cover and sort of medical scheme cover. Medical scheme cover is, it's the Rolls Royce of medical cover in the country. If I were to say that, it is your most comprehensive sort of offering. It's regulated from the Council for Medical Schemes perspective in the Medical Schemes Act, and it's mandated to cover, what they call prescribed minimum benefits, which is a minimum set of cover for clients. Unfortunately,
Okay.
by being forced to cover, that minimum set of benefits, there's upward pricing pressure on medical schemes, which in a lot of instances pushes people out of the market where it's actually unaffordable for them to have it. So that's where health insurance comes in. What health insurance aims to do is to say, well, if you can't afford the medical scheme cover, but you acknowledge that there's a shortcoming in the medical treatment you're going to get upstate, well, here's an offering for you. It doesn't offer the same sort of unlimited cover for those conditions that medical schemes do, but it offers you very, very real benefits, clearly stated. So sort of a rand amount of cover per incident, and because there's some limitation on that, your price point is substantially reduced. So health insurance aims to go, if you can't have the medical aid, but you want something, here's an offering for you.
Okay.
And
All right. It makes sense.
In many
And
instances, in your smaller cases, you don't end up with the co-payment because we scripted it. We specified a rand amount of cover available to clients. So if you have a claim for that incident, and say for example the cost of treatment is 50,000 rand, and our cover allows 100,000 rand, for example, we're going to pay the full 50,000 rand in that case.
okay.
So in a lot of instances, clients are almost better taken care of because we don't have the legislation around tariffs, etc.
Okay. Well, either way you look at it, you need to have some sort of health cover in South Africa today, whether it's gap. Well, gap cover goes hand in hand with medical aid, and of course health insurance is critical if you can't afford to pay the Rolls Royce of treatments. And I think it's important that you are covered some way or another.
Absolutely.
Now, yeah. So look, let's be honest here, Michael. I mean, when you look at insurance, I'm talking as a customer here. It's a grudge purchase, right? I've got to do it. I can't not have insurance in the world that you're living in today. So I feel like every time I see those premiums every month, it goes, do I have to? But I know I've got to. So how is Oneplan trying to change this perception?
Yeah, I think and that's very valid. That's very valid. And we see it a lot in the behavior of our clients, from payments of premiums, etc. It's not always that they hold onto their insurance to the bitter end. A lot of people, as you said, view it as a branch purchase and therefore something they can do without. And I think our efforts are to try and educate our clients that yes, it might be a grudge purchase now, but can you actually take the hit later? So you'll pay, 1,000, 1,500 rand a month, and you've got X amount of cover. And you might think, well, is the 1,500 rand worth it? The question you've got to ask yourself is, do you have the 100,000 rand available when you need it? Because then you're going to be very happy that you had the 1,500 rand premium coming off your bank account. And I think by us making our products available and making those benefits easy to access for clients, we're trying to create the knowledge base within our client base that this actually isn't a grudge purchase. What you're really doing is hedging your risk. You're betting that it's going to happen at some point, and it actually makes more financial and economic sense to have a monthly contribution that you can manage in terms of your budget, to avoid the potential disaster, which is, you're having an accident in your car and you can't replace your vehicle, or you're needing to go to hospital, and you can't put down a deposit to be treated. Or, in the pet space, all of a sudden you've got a 50,000 rand claim or a 40,000 rand claim. What do you do? Do you have the 40,000 rand available to actually provide for that treatment? So that's one aspect, is the education and the reality of people not actually being able to take it. They don't have the savings that are necessary to sort of provide for that. From another perspective, I think, we place a lot of value on the entire sort of ecosystem of that client. And what we aim to do is actually, rather than position it as a grudge purchase, position it as becoming part of a community that's actually trying to save you costs on your health cover, that's actually trying to save you costs on pet ownership, which is particularly expensive, save you costs in terms of your mode of transport. So we're trying to create a sort of a value proposition. I think we have in a lot of respects, where it almost makes sense to be a client of ours, but we ultimately end up saving you.
Yeah, and I think that what you're saying as well is, and it makes complete sense that when you bundle everything together with one insurer,
Yeah.
your cover, you've got a lot more flexibility, right? As
Yeah,
opposed to, getting it separately from different insurers.
Absolutely, and I mean we're alive to the fact that, we want, when we deal with the customer, we want them to buy, as many portions of our products as possible, as many offerings as possible. We quite actively discount our policies if clients have multiple sort of offerings with us. So if you have a pet offering, a gap offering, we actually pass discounts onto client, just to make the value proposition a little bit more sound.
Yeah.
It's something that we work very actively at, in creating a value proposition, ultimately a saving for you, sort of throughout the year.
So you've been doing this for 15 years as CEO of Oneplan, and I'm sure that right now, and I myself, who play in the tech space, just see how technology is just changing everything around us. And we touched on AI earlier, and big data and analytics, and I mean, it's moving at such a pace, and the face of insurance is changing every single day.
Yeah.
What are you seeing as the next big trends and innovation that you're keeping an eye on in the insurance industry? Are we likely to see, even more massive change over the next, say, 10 years, even though it's long to predict 10 years ahead, but, 5 to 10 years, let's say? What are you seeing? What are those trends and innovations that you, the CEO of Oneplan, Michael, is keeping a very close eye on?
I mean, of course, the obvious answer is that AI is involved. It's
Yes.
but it's how AI is getting involved that I think is quite interesting. It's not necessarily the AI bot that calls you, and I think that causes a fair amount of frustration in the market. I think it's how AI is utilized in every facet of your business. So in training of staff, in access to information for those staff, if they're engaging with client, how we engage with client, how products are developed, how products are priced. I mean, it's used in various facets of our business. It's actually interesting to me that without any direct sort of push from our management team to embed AI into our business operations, it's already there. So we subscribe to various platforms and make that available to our staff, just so that they've got sort of this wealth of information available to them. The speed at which AI is putting together, really good content, and really good, really good learnership documents, etc. I think it's incredible. Have we gotten to the point where agents are going to be replaced by AI? I don't think we're there yet. And again, I think that speaks to the country in which we operate. And the variety of languages, a lot of it comes through in vernacular languages. So the existing AI hasn't got to the point where it covers the South African environment particularly. But yeah, definitely in every facet of the business, it's becoming more and more relevant. And I think it will become more relevant throughout the industry. But if we pause on the AI section for a little bit, I think what you're going to see is, very much like our approach. You're going to see insurers and the insurance industry listening to client, and taking into account what the client actually wants, and tailoring products and offerings that take into account what the general level of household income and household affordability is. So our environment's unfortunately very different to the rest of the world, where there's a very big middle class with disposable income. We just don't have that. So we've got to be very alive to how we tailor our products, what our product offerings are, the price points at which people can get access to that, and actually again making it something that they go, well, rather than this is a grudge purchase, this is something I actually need to make sure that I cover myself, in an unfortunate eventuality. So I think AI can help in that, and it can reduce costs. But I think it's about really looking at the bigger landscape and making sure that your offering is something that your client values, above something else. So the decision becomes easy. I am insured, rather than this is a grudge purchase. It becomes well, I have to be insured, and I actually enjoy this product, and I've got access to to those benefits, and it actually benefits me.
Okay. How does one get hold of Oneplan, Michael?
Yeah, as I opened the conversation, I said we're very digitally sort of focused. Vast majority of our contact comes through website, but we're available. It's a website. It's click a link. We'll be in touch with you. If you don't want a phone call, send us a WhatsApp, and we'll service you that way. We can go back to emails, etc. But a variety of channels available. Your best bet is oneplan.co.za, and that gives you access to all of the communication channels. Hope we find one that suits you.
Fantastic. Michael Otten, it's been a pleasure chatting to you, CEO at Oneplan. Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you.